Hi, Eric Lanask here at ITEXPO in Miami, Florida. Wrapping up today's program in the studio from SimpleWan is Eric Knight. Eric, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too.
So, you've got an interesting take on what's happening in I guess, the world of security. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Well, we're big into firewalls. That's kind of what we do. So our big thing is, and we were kind of having a discussion about it earlier, who has a security system in their office or their house? Mm-hmm. And I asked, would you have it monitored? And your answer is, of course. How would you get notified? Well, that's the whole point, is the traditional business model, whether it be the big resellers or, the small ones, they're walking to Office Max and buying a product, is to buy a device and off the shelf from your IT reseller, put it in, throw it in a closet, and forget about it for 3 years. Well, how would you know if you got breached? Who would notify you? Who's watching it?
So, but that's the way it's always been done.
That's the way it's always been done.
You're saying that the traditional way of using a firewall, installing and using a firewall,
it's over.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. If you're listening to the news, if you're following everything that's going on, company after company get breached. I think the numbers came out last year, and they said 40% of all businesses had some type of breach worldwide.
Wow, crazy.
But the problem is half of them are not known. I mean, we worry about sleeper software, we worry about malware, we worry about stuff. And this stuff's been going on since the internet's been connecting to offices. However, what's changing is there's states, North Korea, they're willing to put up a large sum of money to this hacker that sits in his underwear in, the middle of the Northwest or wherever he may be, to where before he just did it for fun. But now you've got somebody who's willing to pay them a lot of money to do something with valuable information. Prior to this, it was like, okay, look, I got 100,000 names. What are you going to do with it? But now, as of the Internet of Things is emerging, there's actually real things that you can do with these breaches. And so those are for sale.
So if the traditional way doesn't work, what does work?
Well, I mean, when alarm systems first came out, they weren't monitored.
Right.
And it was just a noisemaker. People stopped paying attention. The alarm would go off. People would be like, it's just another alarm, another car alarm. This is the same attitude we've had with firewalls. It's, hey, we may have had an issue. It just sits there. It's blinking. It's doing its thing. But who's analyzing it? Who's keeping it up to date? Who's making sure it's PCI compliant? Who's making sure it's HIPAA compliant? Nobody's really been doing that. And even the managed firewall services, you still have to put a human body in there to go through and audit it and take a look at it, and mistakes can be made. We're automating this process and making it a very simple alert system. Hey, you're out of compliance because of X, Y, and Z. PCI compliance changed on January 1st from 2.0 to 3.0. Nobody's compliant. We just uploaded a profile that says, boom, here's a new compliance profile, and it lit up every single customer that was compliant before and that isn't, and how to get there. And a lot of those things are going to go on. There's going to be laws that come out. There's going to be a lot of infrastructure changes, a lot of media attention about these kind of breaches, and things are going to start to change. And your responsibility as a head of a business, as a board member, you're going to be required to obtain all these security pieces and do these things. The days of, hey, I tried. Those days are long gone, or the days of hiring the kid down the street to do your IT stuff. This is a game changer, the security piece. So, what is your suggested approach? What are you guys doing? Well, first of all, it's preventative. Anything preventative. Whatever a business is willing to do, please be preventative. We of course recommend getting a managed or a monitored firewall like what we offer. There's a couple others out there as well, but don't go to the store. Don't buy a device. Don't put it in and expect it to be good for 3 to 5 years. Those days are just, it can't be. You wouldn't dare, do that with any other aspect of your business that was at risk. You wouldn't leave your door unlocked for 3 years. It's the same type of thing. So preventative. I think the courts are going to look a lot more fondly on businesses that actually tried to be compliant and tried to do the right thing than the ones that are just like, this isn't going to happen to me. It's going to happen to somebody else. It's going to happen to the big companies of the world. It's everybody.
What guarantees are there for somebody who does follow what you suggest or what other similar companies suggest, that they are going to be protected?
I don't think there's any guarantees in anything you do, especially in business. However, it's reducing the risk. You're leveraging risk versus reward, and I think a lot of these technologies can leverage human capital, as we call it, so you don't have to spend it in human capital. You don't have to be doing audits. You don't have to be hiring people to constantly be watching stuff. So it's a balance of risk versus reward, and it's a very inexpensive way of doing it.
Conventional wisdom has it that there really isn't much we can do to stay ahead of the hackers. So, which then I guess begs the question: if that's the case, how do you even, how does a company like yours even try to stay close?
Again, we're doing it because we're doing it by the masses. Mm-hmm. So instead of worrying about one device here or instead of starting a security forum that's auditing one company or 10 companies where we have to go through and watch it, we're able to do this through a cloud environment so that we can do it by the masses. They're feeding us back data here. These are the patterns going on. We may have a threat here. We're on a number of government lists and things as well. So if there's a threat detected over here, they'll let us know in advance, and we can block that across our entire network in seconds. So again, it's being more proactive, more on top of it. A lot of people, by the time the Sony breach went down and everybody knew what was going on, we had everything that was relative blocked across all of our customers' network. However, it barely made the news, and most people are still not blocked from those IP ranges where the data was being sent out to, that the malware was copying things out to this day. So it's about concentrating our efforts on the masses and being able to deploy them instantly. The traditional firewalls, okay, configure this one, audit this one, upgrade this one, okay, this one, and we're able to do that all at one time.
What's the reaction typically when you approach a potential customer with the idea of a hosted managed firewall?
First of all, it's like, I think, the transition from traditional phones to hosted VoIP. When we moved into that space, somebody would look at you and be like, I buy this one time. It's a one-time fee. Why would I pay a monthly service for that? So it's a lot of building value and what's going on, and you've got to realize, okay, well, if I have to pay an IT guy to come out here and audit this once a month, what's it going to cost? If I've got to pay for content filtering, what is that going to cost? If I've got to pay for X, Y, and Z, what is that going to cost? I mean, you're going to pay for it one way or another. So we're going to see over the next 5 years a big shift in the firewall space, similar to what we saw in the voice over IP space and telephone space over the last 5 years, to where the mindset is, okay, you know what, you're right. We just want a fee. I'm going to cut a check and not have to worry about it, and move on to the next thing and be experts in what the business does.
And you guys are...
and let us worry about it, right.
You guys are at the front edge, leading edge of that.
We are, yes.
Good. Well, Eric, always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by today.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eric.